It's Drybear. We've seen a bunch of really fun and interesting creations using the character creator in Dragon's Dogma 2, but I've noticed a lot of people that are asking for slider information or looking for inspiration for making their own Arisen and pawn. So in an effort to help these people out, if you're someone out there who just wants to have some inspiration or some direction to go to make the character you're looking for and don't want to get into the fine details, I challenge myself to make 30 different character designs using the character creator, and I'll share the slider information with you as well so you can recreate the exact look. Now obviously I am one person and I have my biases and idiosyncrasies, so there's going to be, I'm sure, some differences in here, but my hope is that either you find inspiration to make your own characters from these 30 character designs, maybe something really suits your fancy and you can use the slider information to take the character exactly as is, for either your main character or the pawn that accompanies you, or the character design is close to what you're looking for and you can use it as a jumping off point to alter and change. Let me know which of these is your favorite down below in the comments, and if you use one of these as a reference but change something about it to make the perfect look for you, drop that in the comments as well, because other people may like your original change. And one thing to mention as well, you can recreate any of these looks as long as you have two core changes for the character. That is going to be their race, which is their humanoid or beastren, and then masculine or feminine, that changes what is available to that character, and then the base head changes the aesthetic as well. So as long as you have the same race and masculine or feminine as I do on screen, and then you also have the same base head as I do, as long as you set all the other sliders the same, you'll be able to get the exact same look for the character that you see on screen. Let's jump into the list, starting with number 1. What I wanted here was a character that had impossible strength, something that can lift any weapon. I was thinking maybe a warrior, something that would use like a great hammer or a club, and would be powered by some kind of runic power or magic power. The challenge here is that you can't really make any of the tattoos luminescent or glow in a really cool way to have that kind of runic imbuement look, but under the cheeks I wanted to have some glow there with the runic typing and kind of have that rotation there, but also just have a character that would fit that archetype well, whether it's a melee fighter or a warrior or a mystic spearhand or even a warfarer, someone who looks like they can pick up anything and has just insane strength overall. But it could be just as well to make this your pawn and make it a caster. I'm sure he would look great in robes and everything in between. Number 2 is modeled after a character I have in a lot of my fantasy games. I actually have like a good 50 characters that I recreate in different universes in all the fantasy games that I play, and this is one of them. She normally has bright purple eyes, but you're so limited in the way the irises look in the character creator, you can't really make them as bright as you can with some of the other colors. You can do blue, white, and green, but some of the other colors for eyes, you can't make them as piercing as I was hoping for. But if you were looking for a short, kind of a button-nose character that fits that aesthetic, that has that kind of vibe going for her, this might be a good look for you, and could even be a nice lifting off point if you're looking for a female character, because I think that this has some nice squash and stretch options with the bone structure that she has for her face. Number 3 is a beastren male, and I wanted to have one that's kind of like the opposite of number 1, which is that he's kind of lanky and skinny, very thin, very long, very slender. Even his face and his skull are very elongated and has a lot of depth and length to it, and I like this because I think it kind of leans more into the beastren aesthetic, that maybe the power that he holds comes from something else besides physical strength or his bones and muscles, that there's something else going on there. But I wanted to have kind of a lanky, long character that has that aesthetic. Plus, as weird as this sounds, gray is my favorite color, so I like having that kind of gray aesthetic for any character that has fur or has a lot of hair like this, especially having that kind of Blanca style hair coming behind him. And I also like the fact that with the lighter fur, you can actually see scars a lot easier, and you can see some facial expressions easier as well, whereas with some of the darker toned fur colors, you won't get to see the expressions as much. Number 4 is a female beastren. I kind of pictured her as a martial artist in some way, maybe just because she has more of a squat stature, but also has some like muscle buildup, but I kind of imagined her as being more of a fighter or a thief or a mystic spear hand or someone that gets in the fight and has a lot of athleticism to where she is. And I kind of pictured this with being more of like a tiger aesthetic, just having that kind of mobility and flexibility and muscle strength that goes along with her. And she has her hair tied up because she's more about, functionality than she is about having everything look perfect. She's all about getting into the fight and getting the job done. And since I had just done more of a elongated, lanky character, I wanted to have a beastren that had more squat features, so a wider skull base, wider cheekbones, a wider nose bridge, a wider jaw, broader shoulders, you know, kind of had that more of the opposite stretch of the character that we just showed. For number 5, I made kind of just a generic human male that I think that a lot of people, surprisingly, if you look at most of like D&D or RPGs or fantasy games, there seems to be a very strong affinity towards human male warriors. They're just a pretty average looking white male that uses a sword or a hammer or something like that, or an axe. And so I wanted to make kind of just a generic looking one. I made his eyes a little bit brighter, and then I gave him more of kind of like a younger look in his overall aesthetic, but he is kind of, in my opinion, a little more generic, but if it fits you, then go for it. Plus he's got kind of like the handsome haircut and the squared off jaw and all that. Number 6, I can kind of imagine her being like a mentor or a counselor, someone who's just very wise. For some reason, when I look at her, I feel like I would go to her for advice if I was, you know, stuck on my travels or journeys, or was running into too many monsters. I would like, if I had her by my side, I'd be like, all right, what would you do? She seems like she would have all the answers and all the knowledge available to solve the situation. So this one's going to be feminine human as well, and then all the details for number 6 are going to be listed here on screen. For number 7, I wanted more of a pale snake bite kind of aesthetic to it. I don't know how well it turned out here. She has like these kind of tattoo fangs coming off of her lower lip here, and then she obviously has the green plus the gray and white hair with the gradient, and then of course the green eyes, which you can play around with if you wanted normal irises or pupils. This one I kind of imagine being more of like a thief, or if there was an assassin in DD2, I would go with this one as well, but I wanted to kind of have this kind of archetype filled in the list of character designs. For number 8, there's kind of like this really sub character that no one has probably ever heard of, because he's just like a part of a side anecdote story in one of the Space Marine books for Warhammer 40k, and he's a Space Marine, a Space Wolf that, even though the gene seed makes you perfectly physically fit, he's a Space Wolf that for some reason still ends up being overweight and very heavy. And so I wanted to kind of recreate him as a beastren here. So he's he's physically incredibly strong. He's got that kind of vibe, but he also has a lot of extra, body weight on him that in some cases can help him a lot, because he can throw it around. You could be useful in dragging down griffins. You get on top of their head and you pull them to the ground or something like that. But I wanted a beastren that was like, very powerful, but like mountain men powerful, little extra body weight, very, very heavy in that kind of regard, and is just kind of hunks around the battlefield, stomps and stomps as he goes around. For number 9, I wanted something a little bit more alien or cosmic. Kind of feels like she's not really from this planet. She feels like she's somewhere else. I mean, even just with the basic face features, they're not really as standard as you might think. Some things are a little bit too big, some things are a little bit too small, and the positioning of things feel a little bit more uncanny valley. And I wanted a character that kind of fits that. So it feels like she's, obviously you're conversing with her and she's coming along with your party, but you definitely feel like she's not from here, or there's something else going on. And because of that, it has that element of mystery. You're wondering, what powers does she have? How strong is she? What does she draw on? What is she capable of? Because I can't really recognize what her origin is. Number 10 is a character archetype that I've always liked, which is a character that is older and kind of plays more on the dumb side. You see this a lot in some, major storytelling archetypes, but the idea that they act like they don't know a lot, or they're very soft-spoken, but if you piss them off or you put them in the right situation, you realize that they are insanely powerful and insanely knowledgeable. And I kind of want to have that, like, he has more of the kind of basic look, the short hair, the short beard, he's kind of older, there's not really anything like other than his eyes that's like really, far along on the sliders, but it feels like there's definitely something there that, if he were to be set off in some way, there's some kind of hidden power that he has that no one is aware of. Number 11, I think, is a very popular visual aesthetic. I mean, you look at Mirror's Edge or Resident Evil's Ada Wong and that kind of thing, more of the shorter hair, like A-line or bob cut, that sort of thing, but then kind of more the angular, sleek features, and then more femininity that comes comes along with that. And then I just added a little extra tattoo to add some character and whimsy to it, some asymmetry to the way she's presented. But again, I think this one is probably one that people, I made this more of as like a fan service. I think a lot of people are looking for this kind of aesthetic for either their main character or one of their party pawns that comes along with them on their journey. For number 12, I wanted to do a like human monster transform, and I decided to go with a forest or a bog hag. So I don't know how well I pulled it off here. I was going to try and do like a Dungeons and Dragons night hag, but I just don't think I had the tools needed in the character creator to pull off an actual night hag. So I went for more of like the typical forest hag. So this is going to be her human form, and obviously she has like the black sclera and the iris with the darker colors and the brighter colors here, but you know, that kind of typical unassuming, you know, older woman that you think is just kind of very dainty, but obviously holds a ton of magical power. And then when she transforms, she becomes her full hag form. So number 12 is her human form, and then number 13 is my attempt at her transformed form. Now, what you can do is you can use tattoos with stark colors. The problem with doing that as like a presentation in general is that you can't get full coverage with the character creator in DD2. So there's going to be some areas like on the back of the neck or back of the head or back of the body, or even just like on the shoulder blades or on the shoulder cuffs that can't be covered by tattoos, which means that if you're trying to do a full skin color with those, they end up just looking kind of off because you have those clear seams or lines in between. So I decided to go for more of like a kind of like off green, a little bit of dirt, strong jaw, big cheeks, big pointy ears, but this would be like the hag transformed version of the first pawn, or the first look that we saw in number 12 for number 13. Number 14, I wanted a morally gray character, one that is quite powerful and well trained, the kind of general commander that, you know, started out maybe good, but had to make some really tough decisions along the line that really colored his soul and his personality. You think about like Askeladd from Farmland Saga. And also wanted a character with kind of like that, you know, olive, Moroccan, Greek, Middle Eastern skin tone. Someone who's obviously from a different location than some of the other characters, and also has been out and about traveling the roads, moving around, and has been getting their hands dirty all along the way. I kind of imagine him as more of like a leader archetype, someone to take the lead, someone you could rely on, somewhat like a fighter or something like that, but obviously could fit any specific role. Number 15 is kind of another take on that. He's a much bigger dude, a much heavier dude, much more powerful dude, but I think he's also just got like a lot of character in his face and his structure. Like just the combination of his hair, the tattoos and everything makes him feel pretty like unique in that aspect. And he also kind of reminds me of like, I didn't intend for this, but he almost seems like a cyberpunk style character based just the way he ended up looking in the end. But I feel like you play with this character's posture and musculature and overall size and fit him into any possible role as a pawn or Arisen, and I think he would make for a pretty cool presentation in most cutscenes. For number 16, everybody knows that your swinging power when you do like hitting people, throwing your body weight around, or swinging something big always comes from your legs and lower back. That's kind of where the power starts. If anyone teaches you how to punch or swing something heavy, it always comes from your legs and lower back. So I wanted a character that has like maxed out lower body, maxed out leg size, maxed out leg strength and back strength. So if you wanted to have someone like, you could even make a sorcerer with archstaff, but I was thinking just kind of heavy weapons, big weapons, you know, things that just really need to make a big impact, or like a golf swing or a baseball swing, someone that kind of had that strength buried in. She's got elven ears with an extra point there, and then she has like some kind of burn scar on her face, probably from some mage she fought with at some point, but she kind of has that aesthetic. For number 17, I wanted a beastren that had a little bit of softer features that were weathered over time. I kind of imagine this character as one that didn't really want to be kind of like a pacifist. They didn't really want to be involved with any of the war or combat or any of the invasions or monster fights, but you know, either their village was ravaged by a griffin, or the dragon destroyed their home and took his family, or something like that, and he's just been on the road trying to save the living, you know, the trying to give justice out where it goes, but it's not his natural personality, right? He doesn't really want to fight. He doesn't like seeing dead bodies. He doesn't like that kind of thing. And you can see that even though he has the softer features and the kinder eyes, the rest of his body is kind of weathered and aged from his travels over the years. For number 18, I wanted more of a darker aesthetic, someone who is not above tapping into, more evil or mysterious powers. Obviously something that has affected her body physically with her white and black tattoos on both arms, the blackness around her neck, which maybe that happened because she summoned something she shouldn't have, or she's removed someone's soul and it darkened her skin or something. The white, I wish you could make the hair whiter than it is here, but this is the whitest I could make it. The red eyes, the darker lips, and then kind of like the more paler skin to fit that aesthetic. But I wanted someone just who was like more of like a soul eater, soul drinker, vampire, more of that dark magic, evil magic aesthetic. For number 19, I wanted a beastren that looks very innocent. And this is an archetype that I always like. It's a character that just generally, just the way that their body structure and face structure is set up, they seem very innocent and very friendly, but they're insanely dangerous. So like a Ty Lee from Avatar or something like that. Someone you look at and like, wow, they're so cute. And then you get them into battle and they're actually insanely, ridiculously overpowered. So I wanted that kind of more for like a beastren character. So this is her. She does have a scar. You can probably remove the scar if you wanted more of that innocent look, but for the structure, like the bones and the muscles, I wanted to try to make her a little bit more like friendly and more innocent looking if possible. And then kind of have that duality to her character personality. For number 20, I was going for more of like a brown skinned female that has like more of like conventional attractiveness, but with like, she puts a lot of effort into her appearance. She does her hair up, she braids it and buns it. She takes good care of her skin and all that kind of thing. And then she has like this neck scar, like almost like she was beheaded at one point, and then she managed to get her head back on and reattached, and she's okay now. And I don't know, that was just a random idea that popped in my head, and I like the fact that she has like this white eyeshadow that brings more of a stark contrast to her darker, like pitch black eyeline, and then those piercing yellowish, orangish eyes that she has, and then kind of like more of the smaller elvish ears that are, I think, highlighted by the small strands of her hairstyle kind of coming down from her hair, kind of falling down on her more feminine features. But overall, I was able to get the scar to go all the way around the head, from the front to the back, which you had to play around with the scale a good bit to get it to do that. But I don't know. I just wanted this idea that she was strangled or she was beheaded, but she was okay. Number 21 is a male that is he's basically minned out on all of physical stature. So like height, weight, mass, all of that is like as low as it possible goes. I try to make him as scrawny, as small as he possibly could be, but then kind of add in a lot more mystery to where his power comes from as a character, either as a pawn or as a main character. So he's got scars all over his body. You don't really know where they came from. You don't know how he got there. Obviously, he survived quite a lot in his travels and his battles. He also kind of has like more like monstrous features. They're not like overly uncanny valley, but it's more like kind of like a gargoyle, I guess, like sharper features in some areas, smaller features in some areas, eyes a little bit bigger than you would expect, and a look there, and then just kind of some raggly hair that's just kind of all over the place that kind of adds to his kind of character personality. And I think he actually turned out pretty good. I might actually end up using this as through one of my playthroughs, probably as a pawn or maybe even as a main character. For number 22, I decided that the hair that they included here reminded me a lot of Madara. So this Arisen is one of the most powerful Arisen ever, and he had a rival that was really good at healing himself, and they went to battle and he almost died, but he took cells from hhis rival and implanted them in his arm and his chest, which allowed him to heal himself and stay alive throughout the centuries. And he this is basically Madara. I just wanted to see if I could make it, The tattoo doesn't line up just perfectly, but the hair here that they gave us reminded me so much of him that I wanted to at least give a shot at it. You could go Sharingan, you could go Rinnegan for the eyes, but I think I just wanted to at least give it a shot. For number 23, I don't really know. I kind of just went with the I just randomly started clicking on things and changing things until we ended up here. She is super unique and also very strange. So this one, I don't know if anyone's gonna take it, but if you do, let me know. This one's just super bizarre and out there. She definitely has some interesting features, but there are some that are also just very odd. I can't really put my finger on whether or not she's like friendly or scary or just weird, but it's a different take on something that you may want to try out. Number 24, I wanted to do kind of like more of a classical berserker bloodlust battle fighter here. No, like shaved off hair, you know, like bleached red skin from staying out in the sun too long and just getting completely murdered, ridiculously sized muscles, oversized strength, head like that's made of lead that, you know, if you, no matter where you hit him, your hand would hurt more than his head would or his jaw would, that sort of thing. Someone just gets lost in the bloodlust, more of like an Angron Primarch, just like ridiculously overpowered and focused only on fighting and nothing else, just pure berserker. So I wanted to kind of have like that aesthetic going on, and he's just maxed out in like size and muscle in every possible way, and has like these bleached out eyes and only thinks of battle, that kind of one-dimensional mindset. For number 25, I kind of imagined her as someone who was forced into like struggles really young, and even though like she seems like a little bit like softer on the outside, she's seen some real dark times. I kind of liked the gray metallic tattoos on her. So she has one on her face and then one on her chest that goes along that. You can even add more to the like her back or shoulders or even her arms and legs that really goes along with it. But she kind of just seemed like someone who grew up a little bit more naive and was forced into it, into like really tough times, but kind of integrated that into her personality as an adult. For number 26, I had kind of like an Irish-Scottish inclination, not fully, but just a little bit of a inspiration on this one. And I almost imagined her as like maybe a noble that decided that she didn't want to live in castles anymore and she wanted to go out and find her own adventure. So that kind of has that kind of perspective to it. Obviously, she doesn't have any scars or major tattoos or anything to speak of, and she still kind of has her own upbringing in the way she presents herself, but she is someone who wanted to hit the road and wanted to get out there and be part of what's really going on out with the Arisen and the dragon and the monsters everywhere in Dragon's Dogma. For number 27, I wanted a necromancer that had experimented on himself. So he's kind of like necromancer, ghoul combined together into one. Try to play around with the skin tone and the dirt level to try and get that ghoul aesthetic. And I think there's definitely like multiple versions of a necromantic or like death magic user that you can see. Some of them are very prim and proper, some are more pale because they never get sunlight, and I think there's this kind of sub niche of that, of necromancers that end up kind of using their own body as a method of experimentation, so they end up looking kind of grim and ghoulish and dark and messed up, and I kind of wanted to have that aesthetic for him. You can't really tell how old he is. He could be, you know, thousands of years old at this point, just constantly replacing his own body parts and experimenting on himself. You know, maybe the runes and symbols on him are keeping him alive or making him immortal or that kind of thing, but I kind of wanted to have that aesthetic at least for him, if you wanted more of a darker dark magic origin for a male character. For number 28, I wanted a Beastren that is the strong silent type, and so for this I wanted to kind of like broader features, more musculature, and like a stronger like skull and like ears that protrude out, that sort of thing. And I kind of wanted to lean into that strong silent type by being more of like the dark Black Panther look with like really dark skin, kind of like the red orange eyes, and like this is the kind of character I imagined that would like sit on the edge of a bar or a tavern and just chill and hang out, never says anything, but if a fight breaks out, you want to be anywhere near her because she's going to ruin everyone's day because she's so ridiculously strong. So that was the idea that I had for that character. And for number 29, I wanted kind of the opposite of the last one. If the last one is like the strong, silent type that is very powerful, I wanted one that is like literally the chatty box, the chatty Kathy, the one that talks too much, has way too much attitude, is very fast, not necessarily as strong, but uses speed and cunning to kind of overcome the situations they find themselves in, usually because they won't just shut up. So I kind of wanted to have those aesthetics going on with him. Because I did the mohawk here, it was room to put like some tattoos on the top of the head or the side of the head, so I played around with some arrows and some white on the lighter fur tones, but I wanted to at least get that in there for this character. And lastly, for number 30, I wanted a take at a traditional witch. So this is kind of like your, I don't know, Yennefer, Triss Marigold, Wanda, the Scarlet Witch, like that kind of aesthetic, like, a woman capable of such incredible power that she carries with her. I put kind of like a beauty mark sigil underneath her mouth, and then gave her kind of like the more flushed pale skin and both like the darker colors around her eyes with the eyeliner and eyeshadow, and then kind of like the faded black and red hair, and then just kind of average looking features the rest of the way through, but just, more of like that spellcaster witch kind of vibe going for her. So that's what I got for you today. If you found one of these useful, let me know in the comments, and if you had changes or other ideas you wanted to share with people, drop them in the comments below, because you may find others that would like to use your character designs as well. If you found value in today's video, leave a like down below, leave a comment for the algorithm to help this video get seen by more people, and don't forget to check out my other channels for other content and other stuff and other things.